Hi, I'm Dina Zuckerberg from myFace, and I am excited to have Deborah Malkoff-Cohen here to speak about eating healthy during the COVID-19 pandemic. Deborah is the registered dietitian at the myFace Center for Craniofacial Care at NYU Langone Health, and she's going to provide us with some useful tips and information on eating healthy for you and your family during this challenging time, and any other, and maybe some feeding issues that some people may have. So thank you, Deborah, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Okay.
Okay, so before we started, we asked some of the participants if they had any questions specifically that they wanted answered. So I'm just going to go through some of those first. First, the question was how to make mac and cheese healthier. So I love that question because I also work a lot with picky eaters, and most kids love mac and cheese. So there's a few things to do. Somebody had mentioned adding, green vegetables, green leafy vegetables. Most of the kids that I work with would pick all of those out and not use that. Let that be an additive. If your kids would eat that, that would be fabulous. What I usually like to do for the pickiest that like to keep it, beige, is one of two things. I would puree white cannellini beans into the sauce, the cheese sauce. So you're going to get, extra protein into your mac and cheese, and your kids wouldn't know. Anything I would add very slowly. So I wouldn't just dump a can of beans in. I would add like 2 tablespoons or 1 tablespoon and do it slowly so they don't recognize the change. The other thing you can do is add like some butternut squash, like 1 or 2 cubes, blend it, cook it, blend it, and then also add that in. So, and everything would be done slowly so that hopefully they will not notice a change, but that's a way to get in either protein or a vegetable for kids that don't eat a lot of vegetables. So that's one way you can make it healthier. You could also, then we had other questions about, kids being very picky. For the 9-year-old, a lot of kids that age eat those kind of foods like hot dogs, chicken nuggets, mac and cheese, pizza, French fries. It's a very, very common boy diet at that age. Definitely being on a multivitamin and an omega-3 is pretty important to make sure we're filling in the gaps of what his diet is not providing. I would definitely try to get in fruit and vegetables somehow. Like they do make freeze-dried fruits they make them at Trader Joe's and I get them at my health food store, actually. I eat them myself. They're really good. They make like bananas, but they really dehydrate them and they're crunchy. So some kids don't like it because they're mushy or the texture. So they make like freeze-dried raspberries, strawberries, bananas, kiwis, but the strawberries are kind of tart. So I wonder if you would like those because it's kind of a severe flavor. It's kind of like it's a very strong flavor and it's crunchy. So that would be something to segue to get some in. If you could get chicken nuggets, if we could segue into maybe making some chicken nuggets at home, we could at some point maybe use a different coating on the chicken nugget, maybe doing like a nut chopped up and then putting in some cauliflower and mix it together. But it all has to be a very slow change. Now, somebody else asked about replacing beans because there will be definitely a meat shortage. A lot of the meat packing plants are closing because of COVID. A lot of the workers basically work on top of each other, and they're all getting sick. So basically, we don't even know if the meat that's coming out is even healthy to consume. So a lot of the meat packing plants are closing. Tyson was one. There's another one, big one that's closing. And obviously, like Wendy's, even the other day, took burgers off their menu. So, you know, we just want to be prepared. So if your family is really meat dependent, stock up, freeze it, you know, batch cook meatballs, batch cook meatloaf, whatever you can do, and just store it in your freezer, put a date on it, so at least you have it. My family's not meat dependent, but I mean, we eat it, but it's not a staple. But if you have a kid that, you know, one of their primary sources of food is a hamburger or steak or something, and your child is on the lower end of weight, you definitely want to see if you can get a bunch of it and freeze it. So the article that's coming out on Monday in the email is all about how to make sure you're meeting your protein needs, not from meat, which by the way, is completely doable, and do not get alarmed. However, if your family is used to eating meat, you know, they might not be so amenable to start eating beans and nuts and, you know, yogurt and quinoa and all these other sources that, you know, you can get protein from. So that's why I say to store up, you know, to store it, because, you know, you have to make sure that you have enough to replace it with. So for meat, beans do have a lot of protein. There's a bunch of different beans that you can get and use as a replacement for meat. So there's quinoa, there's lentils, there's black beans. They mostly have they could have up to 8 grams of protein for a half a cup, which is a lot of protein. So, you know, milk has 8 grams of milk has a gram of protein per ounce. So if your child is drinking 8 ounces of milk a day, if your child is drinking 20 ounces of milk a day, that's 20 grams of protein. You know, cottage cheese, Greek yogurt has, you know, could have between 12 and 20 grams of protein. There's a lot of different ways you can get protein. Nut butters, ironically, are not that high in protein, but they have protein. So there's a lot of different ways to get it. You just have to make sure that you are balancing it out. Like even the oatmeal I feed my son has 8 grams of protein. I get him a high protein oatmeal. So quinoa has, you know, 1 cup of cooked quinoa has 9 grams of protein. So if you mix that with some beans, that's a decent meal. And you could add some other things as well. So I think it just depends. I could also send some easy vegetarian recipes out for people if they want. You can find like a whole wheat tortilla, which will have protein. There are cereals that have, you know, high protein cereals. So there's eggs. I mean, an egg has 6 grams of protein. So there are other ways to get protein in. You just want to make sure that you're balancing it out. Now, this country eats way too much protein anyway, so the protein needs are not that high. So women probably need like 55 grams of protein a day. And meat, like a steak, if it's 7 grams of protein per ounce. So if you have a 4-ounce steak, that's 28 grams of protein. This is the size of a 4-ounce steak is like the palm of your hand, which is not that big. So you don't have to worry about meeting your protein needs. They will be met. But just to be prepared if there is a meat shortage of what your family will consume and what they won't. You could also get like salmon burgers. You could get fish sticks. You could get shrimp. There are other things that you will be able to find that are not meat-based. Any other questions before I talk about other ways to save? Can you, I don't know, I don't think I can
Yes.
unmute.
Hi. You mentioned vitamins and omega-3. what, if you could send out later, you don't have to tell us right now, but what brands are the best ones and the most complete ones? Because there's so many online that I can't decide. And also for us as women, as moms, like what, if there's something you think that we could take, like, you know, however, you know, stuff that's good for the kids and also stuff for us.
Yeah. And also there's a lot of, I also, myFace had sent out an email, I think it was last week, about, and I can send you guys, Dina, I'll get all your emails from our system. There's also, the email that we sent out last week about, that I compiled and they put together so beautifully, of immune boosters, of like how to keep yourself healthy during the pandemic, like making sure your vitamin D is good. I just started taking vitamin D because I'm barely outside anymore. And you only get vitamin D, really, the sun converts it in your skin to the active form. So if you're not outside, everyone's going to be deficient. And also we just came off winter, so everyone's pretty much deficient unless you've been supplementing. So I've been taking vitamin D. I started taking a multi. I started taking, you know, CoQ10, and there's just a bunch of supplements you can take just to give your, I mean, we're all under so much stress from this, and stress lowers your immunity. So I can give you a list of things that you can take that can help just support your immune system and your body better, because most people are stress eating now, or just not eating on a schedule, and they're grazing. And, you know, if you don't get fruits and vegetables in every day, which are the pillars of antioxidants, you know, at least you can get it from supplements. And the same thing with kids. So that's a great question. So I will send a list of that. Anybody else?
And Deborah, there was a question on the chat about the two best types of beans.
So I am like a bean person. So I love garbanzo beans, chickpeas. I love I love all beans. Honestly, I personally love garbanzo beans. I love which are chickpeas. I love black beans. I love cannelloni beans, the white beans. I don't think there's ever a bean I didn't like. Like the other day, we have so much stuff in my house because everybody made me think the world was ending. So we got so much, you know, we got so many beans. I took a can of black beans, put it on my stove. I took a can of corn, put it on in the same pot, put it on my stove. In another pot, a little pan, I cut up grape tomatoes, you know, sauteed it with onions and a little butter, put that in my beans, cooked it, took an immersion blender, blended it, black bean soup, done. You know, beans are so cheap now. What are they, like $1 something a can? And the corn too. I sliced up some avocado in it and I ate it with corn, with like, you know, the blue corn chips. And that's a meal. I mean, that could be a meal for your family. You could add in, you know, you can make a bigger pot of it if you have more people. I made, you know, for myself and my husband. It was so delicious. And it took me, I think, I'm not joking, maybe 10 minutes. And, you know, so like I had beans. I just looked up I literally Googled easiest black bean soup recipe. You know, you could make chickpeas into hummus. I mean, there's chickpea blondies where you can make a dessert, which are delicious. I could send you that recipe. I made black bean brownies before. Both of those recipes are outrageously delicious. I actually brought them to our office and everybody devoured them. So it's a way where if your kids are sweet people, there's no flour in it. Your kids wouldn't even know that anything was in them. The blondies are my favorite because I'm not really a chocolatey, dark chocolate person, but outrageously delicious. And also they have a ton of soluble fiber. They help with cholesterol. They help you go to the bathroom. I will warn you, if you're not used to eating a lot of beans, they are a little gassy. So if you're stuck in your house with your family, you know, they might not like you for a little bit, but once you get used to them, it's fine. Any other questions?
And Deborah, along those same lines, there was another question in the chat about if you wash the beans, the canned beans, before, cooking or eating them?
So washing them will help with the gas issue. And also their salt, it depends. I didn't think I washed them before the soup because I like the juices from them. But any beans you should wash before if you want to decrease the gas factor. But I don't think I washed them before the soup. I think I just dumped them in the pot. But you can wash them. I didn't because I wanted them in their juices. Because then I would have had to add water to the soup, and I think it would have been a little too watery. So I did not. But you could also blend the beans and make them into like a bean dip. What about dry beans? Dry beans are great. If you have like a slow cooker or an Instapot, I tell people to soak them overnight in water and then rinse them and then put them back in the Instapot or slow cooker with new water, and then cook them. Because they have to be, dry beans have to be soaked overnight, but you want to take that water out because that's where all of the, that will take away the gassiness of the beans. And actually, just to let you know, black lentils have 12 grams of protein for a half a cup. And a half a cup's not that much.
Deborah?
Yes.
Just curious, it's shifting a little bit, but what is the latest now with when you're bringing food in, like wiping it all down and washing things? And
it's so funny because I feel like since the beginning they've been so the rules have sort of changed. Every week there's like a new rule. Originally it was like wash your fruits and vegetables. Then it was like soak them. Now it's just like wash them with water. So I wash them with water. I was wiping all my stuff down. Then it says don't wipe it down. You don't have to. I take like anything that has a package. So like all my cereal I take out of the box and just have the bag in my cabinet. Our veggie burgers are individually wrapped. So I take the box, throw it out. Anything that has the box that I could take like the stuff out of in a bag, I'll throw the box away. I'm not like wiping down my milk container. It's hard because I think you need to do whatever makes you feel good. I think if I had to wipe everything down every time, it would be too neurotic for me. It would like put me into like a little bit of an OCD thing. For like people that need to do that to make them feel better, then do it. I think in general, you need to do what makes you feel the best. I see people walking down the street with no mask still, and I think they're like completely crazy, but it is what it is. I mean, I walk with a mask in my building. So, and then there are people walking with no masks. So I think now the thing is wash your produce. I take everything out of the original package if I can. And when I buy fresh fruits and vegetables, I take it out of the plastic bag, the plastic baggies, and I put them, in my refrigerator. I mean, I buy organic berries. I'm not like washing each raspberry individually. Everybody's like, I'm not buying berries because I have to wash them. And so I'm not eating berries. But eating berries is healthy. So you have to just sort of, like, no one's opening up the berry container and touching berries with their gloves, So I think you just have to do what you feel comfortable with. You could also buy frozen produce. Frozen produce is actually sometimes more ripe than fresh produce. Because with frozen, they pick it when it's the most ripe and flash freeze it. With fresh produce, they pick it underripe and then transport it with ethylene gas, like in trucks. So when you get berries or apples or whatever fruit from California, if they picked it when it was most ripe, by the time it got here, it would be completely spoiled. You know, to drive cross country from California to here takes, I mean, at least 4 days if you're driving overnight. I mean, if you're driving straight, which they're not. So unless you're buying local, you really, you know, you could buy frozen or try to buy local produce, which is a lot of times why I always look to see what's in season, because it's probably grown more locally. Any other questions so far? No more questions so far?
No more questions at
Okay.
this point.
So, okay, so I can tell you what I've been doing since this. So I have been doing a lot of batch cooking because it's hard for me to work and with a small child and you know, manage everything. So we've been making a lot of things and freezing them into portions. So I've been doing that for my son. I've been doing it for us. So he loves mashed potatoes. So I buy like 7 potatoes, you know, peel them, cut them, make them on the stove and put them in little Pyrex glass containers in my freezer. I do that for his mac and cheese. I do that. I make him, you know, organic turkey meatballs. I make like 20 of them and put them in twos in my freezer. So like all of his meals are all of his lunches and dinners are pretty much made. All I do is heat them up. Breakfast is another story because I can make an, you know, egg and turkey fresh every day. It depends what you like. If you like, you know, egg cups, you could literally do scrambled eggs, you know, with fresh vegetables and, you know, put them in the you know, make them in cupcake tins, bake them, and then put them in your freezer and then just heat them up. It depends how much freezer space you have and sort of how you want to do it. I'll make vegetarian chili and make it in a million, you know, in a huge vat of it. I will make, you know, turkey meat sauce. I'll make a huge amount of, you know, I make chicken cutlets in bulk. I'll make a lot of things in bulk so that I'm not cooking every single night. Just because it's just too much work. I mean, I'm home 7 days a week, you know, doing everything 7 days a week. It's too much, you know, or I'll find things that are easy to make. Like I buy fresh ravioli. That'll be one night for dinner with a salad. You know, we do things that are easy because I'm not making, like I just found Amy's is a really good brand of like individual pizzas. They're 400 calories each. So like today I had one for lunch because I knew I had to come on here. I had other, you know, I had other calls to make and I didn't want to deal. So that was my lunch with a salad. So you just have to figure out what really works best. And just don't be so hard on yourself because this is a really trying time that no one's ever been through before. So like I have a lot of families that's like one of my best friends texted me. She said, David's had fish sticks twice this week. I said, okay, great. I mean, it's fine. You have to just allow yourself to not be so hard on yourself at this point because, you know, you can't do everything and you have to just pick and choose what's yes, if your child was eating a Snickers bar for lunch, not the best choice, but fish sticks, fine. You know, ravioli, fine. You know, don't knock yourself if your kid's not eating vegetables. My kid doesn't eat vegetables, but he eats fruit. It's fine. So I think batch cooking alleviates a lot of pressure because I don't want to really order. It's expensive. It's another hand touching things. And your money can go a lot further if you make stuff yourself. I think we have another question.
Hey, Deborah.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So another question was about how long things last in the freezer.
It's a great question. It's funny because every time, this is actually a funny story. So I am always one to clean out my freezer. And one time I usually take a piece of tape and with a Sharpie, just put what it is and when it went into the freezer. and I must have had no tape or something. And I took something out of my freezer and I didn't know what it was. Obviously I threw it out, but it made me laugh because it just made me laugh because there are times you put things in your freezer and you know what it is. And by the time you go to look for it, you're like, what is this? When did I put it in? So it's always important to label. You can either label it, what it is when you put it in, or label it and say like expires by. I would say meat can be frozen for like 3 months. But you also have to be careful. You can't put meat or anything into the freezer when it's still warm, because then it has condensation down the inside and it like forms ice in it. So I always say just make enough. I mean, don't make so much food that it's going to be in the freezer for 6 months. But, like my nanny had made enough food for my son. And sometimes I'll open the freezer stuff. And when I look at it, I'm like, it looks like it's past its prime. So I would say 3 months is probably a safe mark. I wouldn't do it.
There's another question here. Is it okay for an 11-year-old to eat only grapes and cucumbers? She does not accept any other type of veggies, fruit. She might accept bananas and strawberries only with yogurt and honey.
I mean, some kids eat no fruits and you have to meet your kids where they are. I would say I would ask her why she doesn't eat fruit. It could be a texture thing in which you could get frozen fruit, you could make a smoothie, you could get the freeze-dried fruit. A lot of kids just don't want to try new things. They're just so petrified of trying it. So a lot of times I will bribe my son to try things, because once they try it and it tastes good, they'll eat it again. I think it's called neophobia. It's like the fear of trying something new. So it doesn't mean they don't like it. It just means they're too scared to try it. So if they do smoothies, or even like that, like we were talking about getting vegetables into things, like getting vegetables into sauce or getting vegetables into mac and cheese. I don't love hiding things and being deceptive-ish to kids, but it's, you'd have to start very slow, because kids who are very picky, their palates are very sensitive to change. That's why packaged foods are so hugely popular, because it's the same. Every time a kid eats a Cheeto, it tastes the same. Every time a kid eats, a McDonald's hamburger, it tastes the same. The McDonald's hamburger tastes the same in Belgium that it tastes in Russia, that it tastes here. It's one recipe. When you cook at home, when I make the meatballs, sometimes I put in more onion, sometimes I put in no onion, sometimes I put in egg, sometimes I put in less breadcrumbs. So the recipe doesn't taste the exact same every time. So what the packaged industry has on kids is that their palate is so in tune to, that's why kids, when you try to change the hot dog, they know something's different, because there could be different spices, there could be different textures. That's why, if you can, it's always best to make something homemade if you can, or always try to change the packaging or the companies, because they're so used to the same exact recipe. So it's just a good way to try to change it up. But I think you need to meet the kids where they are, and at least she's eating some fruits and vegetables. I mean, my cousin ate nothing when he was a kid. My uncle was very strict with him and always pressured him to eat, because my uncle was a foodie, and my nephew ate literally boiled chicken with salt and plain pasta. And now he went to college, he met his friends, then he started dating, and he eats pesto and all this fancy stuff, but he ate nothing as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So I think as you get older, things change. Any other questions?
I do.
Yes.
Can you hear me? So my daughter is a picky eater, but what I make for her, and it doesn't help my my diet, but she likes pasta. She likes pasta, rice. And with the pasta, I have like 3 different variations. I make this pesto sauce with the spinach and basil, and we put cheese, kind of like a Peruvian style.
Mm.
And the red sauce, I make it with tomato, I put celery. I blend everything. Of course, she doesn't know celery, carrots, because she does not eat cooked carrots, but she does eat raw carrots. It's weird. Her palate is weird.
That's good.
Yeah, it's good for her. But so I was wondering, with the sauce, how much is she getting nutrients if I make it, for her? I try to do that a weekly basis if I can.
Well, it depends on how much sauce she's eating, how many carrots, what's in each portion. I mean, you could also blend broccoli in there or blend butternut squash. You could eat, that's why I love soups, because soups you could, I gave my son eats no vegetables. We try, he just refuses. I used to give him soups when he was a baby, and I would just put every vegetable I had and blend it, and he wouldn't know the difference. As kids get older, they pick and choose what they want. And it's harder, but when you can blend things, like when kids eat chicken nuggets, my nephew, he ate chicken nuggets, same thing, chicken nuggets, mac and cheese, pizza, French fries. That's literally, he's 12. That's like a typical boy diet. You can't blend anything into it because it's already prepackaged. So it was very hard to get him to try new foods. What worked for him was that my brother paid him to try new foods. So money was an incentive. But for her, I think, she's getting nutrients. You just don't know how much, because she's not eating like a half a cup of sauce. She's 6. So it's always best to get things from food. Where vitamins come in is to plug up the gaps where the diet's not getting. I also always recommend for parents, snack time should be a place where we also fill in the gaps. So, obviously this isn't a perfect science, but I'd rather a child have like a cheese stick than cheddar bunnies or Cheez-Its. A cheese stick has like 2 ingredients, whereas cheddar bunnies have 12 ingredients. I'd rather a child have a half a peanut butter and, depending on their age, a half to a whole peanut butter and jelly sandwich for a snack than pirate booty or cheese doodles, because peanut butter and jelly has nutrients. So, I almost tell parents, use snacks and think of them as mini meals. Like you would never give cheese doodles as a meal. So think of snacks as mini meals, as other vehicles to get nutrients into your kids. So even if you use like the black bean brownie or the chickpea blondie, there's beans in both of them. And so it's like a win-win for everyone. Because for picky eaters, a lot of them graze throughout the day. There's never like one great meal. So I always try to maximize any meal time or any eating time as a way to get in more nutrients. Anybody else?
I had a question.
Yeah, hello.
Hi. So my son likes to, he can't sit and eat a whole meal. Like he will eat for a little while, but then he likes to get up and move around. Not like the main meal, like dinner, but like lunch and snacks and stuff. Is that okay? Or should I be like teaching him to kind of like stay in one place and eat? Because he's like I sometimes I have to follow him around and be like, oh, finish your pretzels and hummus or whatever.
I feel like he's young.
He's 9, but he's very like on the go always. He's gotta go.
I mean, it's hard. 9 is hard because if you go out, let's say you go out to a restaurant, or what happens when you go out to a restaurant?
Like then he's good, and even dinner he's good. But it's more like throughout the day that it's so hard for him to just sit and finish his meal, or he'll just say, I'm not hungry anymore, just so he can get up and go.
Right, because he wants to play.
Yeah.
How long do meals normally take?
Not so much. I would say like half hour.
That's a long.
Well,
Lunch
it's
is lunch
dinner
is
for like to talk and sit and stuff
Right.
like that. Yeah.
I mean,
But he'll drag his snack out. Like he'll get his snack and I will find him eating it around the house or so I don't know. Is that good? Is that a bad habit? I
mean,
could start
it
like
depends. I mean, my kid's 3. And I mean, he'll eat his snack on the couch. So I don't know. It depends. Does it bother you?
oh, I'm muted. It kind of does, yeah. But I don't know, like
No, then it's a
I choose
problem.
my battles. Yeah, but so I guess. But what would you
What if
suggest? Like how can I
got,
get him?
so what if you got like a visual timer? So I got them for my son for potty training, which did not work. I wish you lived near me. I could give them to you. So there's like visual timers. You can get like a 10-minute, a 20-minute, whatever. We got like very little ones, like 1, 2, 3-minute. But I got them on Amazon. They're visual, like stand timers.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And you can say to him, like, this is a visual timer. You have to sit here, even if it's 10 minutes. You don't have to sit there for 30 minutes. That's a long time.
Yeah.
Even if it's 10 minutes, I would be like, this is a visual timer. You have to sit here for this amount of time.
Okay, that sounds like a good
You know what I mean? Where, you know, I don't care if you color while you eat. I don't care if you, you know, want to read a book while you eat.
Yeah.
I don't care if you, you know, doodle while you eat, but, you know, it's eating is here. And, you know, I want to make sure that you're not, you know, we just don't want to like find food and get bugs and, you know, whatever you want to say, but.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah,
You're
I'm going
welcome.
to try that. I didn't think of like giving him activities to do. So that would be, you know, like you can read your book here, but let's get this meal finished.
Yeah, and even like a visual timer, at least it gives him, when he sees it getting close, he can, or there's other visual timers, you can Google them. There's a time clock where it goes more red as it's getting closer, it fills in red, or the visual stand timer where it runs out.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there anyone else, or should I? Any other
Deborah, I think someone had a question earlier about just sort of healthy eating as parents, and I don't think you had a chance to touch on that yet.
Oh, okay. So, like weight loss, you mean?
I believe that was sort of the question, if I remember correctly.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
So it's actually a big challenge because we're not getting so much exercise now because we're not really going outside. And it's funny because a lot of my patients and clients, it's hard because we have so much food in our house right now. You know, I have a lot of families where their houses are pretty much, you know, I have pasta in my house right now. I normally never keep pasta in my house. Or, you know, I have all these, you know, non-perishables that I never would have had before. So I think there's a few things. Like I found pasta that is a high fiber pasta. And I'll send everybody emails with like the links to them. I got it on Amazon. I actually found it at my health food store, but you can buy it on Amazon. It's called Fiber Gourmet. It has like 25 grams of fiber. It actually tastes pretty good. But I think the main thing is, since we all are home, we have to watch our portion size because we're not moving. You know, like we're walking around our apartment and maybe people will take a few walks, but if you're used to going to the gym or if you're used to doing yoga or, you know, spin class or whatever it is, you know, even if you just were used to, you know, walking your son to school or anything, people are not doing as much physical activity as they used to do. So I think it's always food. You know, I have a friend who's really trying to lose weight for her wedding, and she bought a Peloton and she said, I'm still not losing weight. And I said, Jessica, it is all food. It's 80% food. Then you're eating too much. So, you know, you can't like outrun a bad diet. So I think the main thing is just portion size. And a lot of people are just snacking more because they're home. You know, at work we have a lot of snacks, but most people don't have a huge amount of snacks at work. and, you know, don't have the luxury of their pantry and their refrigerator there all day. So, and a lot of people could be drinking more alcohol at home. They're more stressed out and they need some relief from what's going on out, you know, with this pandemic. So what I usually tell people to do, which I think is really helpful, is to keep like a 3-day food record. I would say, usually I say weekday and weekend, but honestly, every day is a weekday. There are no weekends anymore. So I just say keep like a 2-day food record. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. And just see like, oh, am I eating a lot? Am I snacking a lot? Am I drinking 3 glasses of wine a night? Not a big deal, but times 7 is 21 glasses a week. That's like 5 bottles. So it might not be a lot of things every day, you know, daily, but when you add it up throughout the week, it does compound itself. So I do have people keeping food records and then noticing where they're sliding a little bit. And then we just figure out strategies to sort of fill in and how to make it more manageable. You know, I mean, I have clients working out at home, doing videos, you know, that they find online. A lot of their gyms started doing virtual things. Even if people didn't go to the gym, they found a lot of resources online of doing either yoga or, you know, breathing exercises or, you know, whatever it is, just to keep them more calm. And then, you know, I always did a salad before dinner. Sometimes that fills, you know, that could fill you up. You can make a soup, it could fill you up before dinner. I think everybody, it's so different with what would work for them. So I like to do a food record to see, you know, what everybody's patterns are. If you're not eating breakfast till, you know, 12, I have a lot of people that are eating all their calories at night. They're not eating all day, and then they're like binging all their calories at night, which is awful for weight loss. So, because people are going to bed later. So I think it just depends. I think knowing where your calories are coming from, you know, where you can make healthy swaps, and just, you know, making better choices. I think not eating your kids' leftovers, which I used to do, which was a big problem. And I stopped doing that. Because everyone, you know, why should that mac and cheese and chicken go to waste? But now I don't do that anymore. So stuff like that, just being more self-aware.
Are there any other questions? Mm-hmm.
And also going lower carb. I know there's like the whole no carb thing, but lower carb helps. It doesn't mean no carbs. It just means, you know, I also have a private practice and I work with diabetes and weight loss and all of that. And lower carb, it doesn't mean no carbs. It just means being cognizant. Like when I eat ravioli with my husband, I take 4 ravioli, maximum 5, and he eats the rest. And the whole container is like 700 calories and it's fresh. And I take 4 or 5 and he eats the rest. I'm not eating 10 ravioli. I don't take anything out of my diet. I don't even believe in, you know, like on my business card, it says all foods fit. I don't believe in like, if I want chocolate, I eat chocolate. I made homemade chocolate chips for my husband, homemade, you know, cookies for my husband last night. I have 2 of them today. That's fine. You know, I'll just balance out what I eat later, or I'll eat better tomorrow. You know, I'm not like one of those people that's, you know, eating kale chips and, you know, seaweed, but, and if you do, that's fine. But it has to be a realistic eating plan to be long-term. So, you know, I think you need to just figure out if you're eating like oatmeal for breakfast, pizza for lunch, and, you know, meatballs and spaghetti for dinner, maybe we need to figure out how to get more protein into your diet. So things like that. So figuring out, you know, the balance of your macronutrients. And and if you're eating too many carbs, you're probably hungrier during the day because they digest so quickly. And making sure you're having enough fiber and you're drinking enough water and you're sleeping well. It's like a whole, you know, mind, body wellness thing.
How can I help my kid to drink more liquids? Because I mean she does eat a lot of like rice and beans,
Yeah.
oatmeal, and as I mentioned, you know, just like three kind of fruits only. And but she does not really. I mean, I serve a glass of water or glass of juice, but she barely touches. Maybe she just a sip and then she leaves it.
Yeah. Is she constipated?
No.
You're lucky because rice is really constipating.
Oh, we don't eat that much, but that's basically what we eat sometimes. I try to do like juices, stews, and things that are, you know, a little not too hard, but still she's not drinking water. It's surprising. It's really surprising for me.
How much water does she drink a day?
Maybe one in total. That's it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So what else is she drinking during the day?
Sometimes orange juice, but basically, I mean, right now I have this bottle and I finish it just while we're talking.
Right.
But she does not do that. And if I go to her and I say, Isabella, you want to drink something? And she goes, no, I'm fine. Right. And everybody else drinks. I can make a smoothie or juice or something. But sometimes she's like, and when I do serve, she's the one that takes, oh my God, like forever to finish that cup.
Right.
She might not even finish.
Right. I know that's really hard because I would say maybe flavor it, but she won't. I mean, I'm not a big juice proponent and she won't even drink juice. You know, like I would say maybe squeeze lemon in it or put like a little bit of like watermelon in it so it tastes like watermelon, but she won't even drink that. How old is she?
11.
Yeah, so she's big.
She's big.
Can you explain to her what the benefits of water are and why we drink water? Like it helps you go to the bathroom and makes your skin look pretty, it makes your hair look pretty.
I was thinking, I never thought about it. I never did that.
Right.
And I think I should start mentioning it.
Right. Well, also it like keeps your teeth clean, you know, like it helps wash food out of your mouth. It prevents bad breath. Like I would give her like those kind of those kind of ideas because no one wants bad breath. Everyone wants good hair. Everyone wants good skin. You know, I used to tell my niece that eating vegetables made her hair grow. She used to eat vegetables. I mean, for boys, it really doesn't work unless a boy has long hair. But I feel like she's 11, so she's probably into how she looks. So maybe if you said to her, it'll make your hair really nice. It'll make your skin pretty and bright and glowy, and you know, it washes the food away, so you don't have to worry about bad breath. Like maybe give her reasons. You know.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So if there are no other questions, So if there are no other questions, I think we can wrap it up at this point. Deborah, do you have anything else you want to add or say? I think we can certainly send some resources or anything afterwards.
Yeah. And also, if anybody has any questions or you think of something after, you can totally email me directly. It's Deborah, DEBORAH @myface.org. And I will send you, I kept notes. I'll send you resources of brands of multivitamins and omega for adults and kids and immunity boosters. Is there anything else? Oh, I could send you the brownie recipe and the blondie recipe. Is there anything else anybody thinks, you know, anybody needs me to send?
You had these amazing like smoothie recipes and how to sneak in like protein. Like I remember when after kids had surgery, but those are still great. And I don't think I have them anymore. But if you could,
I can send those. Yeah.
That would be great. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Smoothie recipes. Also, what's great about those is you can freeze them into pops. So if like the summer months come, you know, if you use like a little bit of Greek yogurt, a little bit of like the Liberté, which is the high calorie one, if you're looking to like gain weight or like mask a little bit of like the tang of the Greek yogurt, you could freeze them into pops. So that could be like a snack because they're getting fruit, they're getting protein. And if you freeze it into a pop, the kids think they're getting like a treat. And you know they're getting something really healthy. So it's all about, you know, reverse psychology. You're giving them something healthy and they think they're getting something super fun. And you could get, for like smaller kids that really enjoy this, I mean, a 15-year-old won't care, but you can get a lot of the popsicles. If you look like Target, you know, as the summer comes, or you can find them on Amazon, they make all these little popsicles in different shapes. So you can get dinosaur ones, you can get, you know, all these different shaped popsicles. So they don't have to be like the traditional ones. You can get ones that are in different shapes of things.
This has been great. Thank you so much, Deborah, for doing this. It's really helpful. Really appreciate this. And thank you everybody for coming on to the call.